Hello EU4 players, my name's Riemann, and in this video I'm going to go over the exploits in patch 1.24. I've taken these from the community from various forums, and here I'll show you what they are, how they work, and how to do them yourself. As always, an important disclaimer is that Paradox is pretty quick at patching these, and I make no guarantees they work on later versions of the game, so get them while Paradox is on its Christmas vacation. Furthermore, in most of the footage you'll see, I'm not doing Iron Man, so I could quickly get into a position to show these off. However, these are all confirmed to be working with Iron Man, so if you want to use them to get achievements, you absolutely can. With that out of the way, let's get into 8 exploits in patch 1.24. The first exploit allows you to get unlimited vision so you can see everything, including enemy forces and provinces. You need the Mare Nostrum expansion so you have access to the timeline feature. First, set the game to speed 5 and pause. Then, click on the Show Timeline button up here, and at the same time, hit your spacebar so the game unpauses. If you did it correctly, the game will pause again in timeline mode and there will be no fog of war. Every nation should be as bright as yours, although you can't see anything useful since this is timeline mode. But then all you have to do is hit the timeline button again and you can see everything. You'll be able to see all troops and all enemy provinces, so this is great if you're wondering if you should declare war on someone. You can look through their provinces to see their unrest and look to see if their armies are in a compromising position, like drilling or being far away. There are 2 main limitations on this exploit. The first is that you cannot see into Terra Incognita, and the second is that it disappears after a day, although you can re-enable it whenever you want to at no cost. This next exploit allows you to scam other nations with your Condottieri. What you need to do is assemble your Condottieri force, then create a template with only 1 infantry in it, either as a merc or as a regular. Then, when your army is hired, go to the Conform Template button and switch to the template you created. All regiments but 1 will split away. The monthly payment you'll receive from the nation will decrease correspondingly, but they cannot get their initial 18-month lump sum of money back, making this quite profitable. This frees the rest of your units from any obligation to fight, and they can be hired out to another country at the same time, allowing you to do the same trick over again to rapidly accrue ducats. You can have your 1k stack suicide into some enemies to terminate the agreement, ensuring you won't have to pay any further costs while being able to retain your reputation as an honorable Condottieri dealer. The third exploit features our old friend, the start date selection. It's a buggy system that seems beyond Paradox's ability to completely iron out, but to their credit, the results seem to change every patch. Anyways, to do this, as you're beginning in the starting select screen, input 1820, then go back to 1444 and start your game. There are 2 features people have found that are most of interest in this patch. The first is that the Ottomans will randomly have 8 cores around the Muslim holy cities, allowing them to get early access to the Red Sea and that tasty trade company land. The other feature of interest is that Mecklenburg randomly doesn't have a core on one of its provinces, so Austria can demand unlawful territory on day 1 and they'll always accept, since no alliances have been created yet. The really funny thing is that Austria gets this province for itself and even gets a free core. This province is actually in a really convenient location for policing the Protestant Reformation, as you might know if you saw the video I made on that topic. And it goes well with a focus on unifying the HRE because this glitch still causes Venice to start in the Empire, making it much easier to prevent the Shadow Kingdom. And of course, there's religious peace in the Empire, so you won't have to deal with League wars. Speaking of the HRE, this next exploit allows you to add nations outside Europe, including the Ming, into the Empire. Typically you would be blocked from doing this since there's a hard-coded restriction on adding non-European provinces, but by moving your capital by decision, you can create little outposts of HRE land outside its home continent. One instance of where you can do this is Manchuria. Take over some Manchu land, then culture switch through the tried and true method of destating your home provinces and statifying Manchu lands instead. When you do this and take the required provinces, you'll be able to form the Manchu and your capital will move out to Asia and 1 province will now be considered in the empire. Importantly, you can move your capital back to Europe and the Asian province will still remain in the empire, so you can release a country in that province to have them be a prince of the HRE. You can also do this with the Ming, although it's a bit more involved. In your first war, you'll want to take all provinces required to form the Qing dynasty, and you'll want to take some provinces with Jinghui culture. Then you'll want to culture switch again to Jinghui, form Qing, move your capital, give Beijing back to Ming, and do another war with them that takes the province wherever their capital ended up, along with the rest of Jinghui culture provinces except for Beijing. Then, their capital should move back to Beijing since it's the last province that has their primary culture since you've taken all the rest. This will make Ming a prince of the HRE. This trick can be useful in games where you're going for an HRE1 tag since you can annex them entirely when you renovate. The next exploit can be used to rapidly accrue Patriarch Authority as an Orthodox nation. Find a state with 30 development, or slightly higher, and consecrate a metropolitan there. Then, unstatify it, re-statify it, and consecrate a metropolitan again. You can do this as many times as needed to get the Patriarch Authority you want. The obvious cost is that you lose out on some admin points each time you re-statify, but the cost is lowered by core cost reduction and administrative efficiency. This trick is nice in the early game if you run out of things to core, and later in the game if you want to rapidly switch between icons, since coring 30 development is trivial later on. The bonuses Orthodox nations get are really good, so this can be a handy trick to keep in mind. The sixth exploit allows you to significantly reduce the amount of calls to arms you receive from your allies. Getting dragged into an ally's war is really annoying, especially since they seem to not make peace until way after they should have. To remedy this, all you have to do is go to any nation you think your ally might declare war on and set your attitude towards them as friendly. When I don't manage my attitude, the Ottomans would be able to call me into a war with the Mamluks, but afterwards I'd have a massive -60 penalty to joining, and so they wouldn't be able to call me into the war. As far as I'm aware, there's absolutely no cost to doing this besides a little wrist exercise. There's not even a relations check, so you can set nations you have -200 opinion of as friendly. Realistically, you only need to do this with countries your ally borders, because those are typically the only nations they declare war on. However, if you want to be safe, you can set the entire world as friendly. The only wars you'd be called into then are defensive wars and wars against rivals. If you pick strong allies and set rivals to nations that don't border your allies, or just declare war on them first before your allies can, you can effectively prevent pretty much every call to arms you'd receive in a campaign. I've started using this trick quite heavily in my games, and it feels great to be as artificially useless to my allies as possible. I see it as a form of payback for them not wanting to join my wars 95% of the time for some contrived reason. The seventh exploit is definitely the most entertaining of the bunch, as it allows you to stack as many of the same idea type on a custom nation as you want. Your only limit is the number of points you have. Normally when you try to pick the same idea twice, it just switches the order in the list, but by editing the custom nation file, you can get around this restriction. Make a custom nation with some ideas you want and save it. Then go to Documents, Paradox Interactive, EU4 Custom Nations, and open it with a text editor of your choice. Then look through the file and find the ideas you want. In my instance, I set Discipline to be at level 4, so it's pretty easy to identify. Then copy that idea over the other idea groups and reload the file. Again, you are limited by points, and ideas cost more if you have too many of one type, but you can still get some pretty silly situations. If you do 3 admin efficiency ideas and get 70% admin efficiency in the game, all provinces will cost 1 war score, you will get no overextension or aggressive expansion at all, and cores will be completely free. It says they cost 55 admin, but they're actually free. You could also stack damage reduction or get tons of colonists. There's tons of potential. The final exploit allows you to easily stack wipe enemies. You can see my 38,000 troops here vastly outnumber the Mamluks, so victory isn't really a question. However, my enemy has enough troops that it's unlikely for me to actually stack wipe them. I'll easily knock them back, but I won't obliterate them. They'll shatter back, refill their army, and come at me again and again. A tactic from patches past was to split your army so you have one force go in and deplete their morale, while another will swoop in for the actual kill. However, that's not really possible anymore since defeating armies refills the morale of the victor. But all you need to do to circumvent this is split one regiment from your first army into its own army, then send both the new 1K army and the original army at the enemy. When it looks like the enemy morale is almost depleted, you should retreat with your larger original army while the one regiment valiantly sacrifices itself. By only winning against the 1K stack, the enemy's morale gain will be dampened significantly, and it can be easily picked off by your reinforcement stack that's waiting just behind. This is a great tactic to use against enemies that have armies big enough to annoy you, but not enough to threaten you. By doing this a few times, you can significantly reduce their ability to wage war. That's all the exploits I have for you today. Be sure to try them out quick before Paradox can patch them. Also, I put links in the description where you can find out more information on these. Be sure to check them out. My name's Riemann, and until next time, thanks for watching.